Hey everybody, my name is Jeremy Siskind. I'm the author of Playing Solo Jazz Piano, of the Jazz Piano Fundamentals series. This is book 3, Modal and Modern, as well as Solo Standards for Piano, Volume 1, out now, available, not very expensive. Today I want to talk about the Wynton Kelly Principle. This is a little name I've given to a common improvising technique that's a great one to practice. So I want to explain it to you, show you a couple of examples, and then talk about how to practice it. So I named the Wynton Kelly Principle after the very first thing that Wynton Kelly plays on one of the most famous solos ever in jazz, his solo on Freddie Freeload. I've got a little transcription. I didn't do this transcription. I just found it online. But I think the first 4 bars at least look pretty good. You know what? Let me put it, I'll put it like this so that you could just see the part you need to see. So here's the most famous opening of one of the most famous solos ever. It goes like this. So good. Let me play it one more time. 2, 3, 4. So, what is the Wynton Kelly Principle, according to me? It is the idea that you're going to play symmetrical phrases, by which I mean that you're doing one phrase leaping up to a specific note, and then one phrase leaping down to that same note. And so here you can see that we're going from F to B flat up, and then F to B flat down. And then in the second pair of phrases, we're going up from F to B flat, and then down, we could say from F to B flat through D, if you want to put it that way. And so this is a classic question answer, right? When we ask a question, our voice goes up. And when we give the answer, maybe our voice descends. So our ears love this kind of symmetry that we get from these up and down phrases. It could be to the same note. It doesn't necessarily have to be. It could be just one phrase ends going up, one phrase ends going down. Let me show you another solo that uses this similar technique. This is one of my favorite solos. Oh, look, and this line is already circled here. You know what this is? Let me show you this circled line. This is from Hank Mobley's solo on If I Should Lose You, a very famous solo. Let's look at this line circled in green. God, it's so simple, in quotes. It's not like technically crazy. He's not using any crazy scales, but there's just such logic and flow to it, right? And he's using repeated rhythms. But you can see that here, I would say he's leaping up a fourth from G, down a fourth from G. And then up a fourth from F, down a fourth-ish from F. And then what gives this kind of a next level feeling, in my estimation, is that it's also a sequence, right? What's happening on the left side of that line happens again, just essentially a step down within the key. So Hank Mobley, gets even bonus points because he's using that Wynton Kelly Principle, plus he's adding a sequence. All right, so I think hopefully at this point the overall principle is making sense. So now let's talk about doing some practicing. Let's say you understand this, you like this. How are you going to practice it? I like to think about doing 3 levels. I'm probably going to add to this, but I'm thinking about 3 right now. So the first, some of you might skip this one if you're a very confident player, is to do this on a drone. So we could start in C, and I'm just going to play a low C and G. And I'm going to make sure that every phrase that I play has a symmetrical second half, let's say. All right, so And for now, I'm gonna really focus on having like the same two notes going up and then the same two going down. But maybe later we'll experiment with the same intervals, or maybe, like King Mobley did. Okay. So I'm quickly running into a wall, which is that I'm doing all three note phrases. So let me go for longer phrases. Okay, so that's getting me some more options. And then thinking back to that Wynton Kelly solo, the rhythm isn't exactly the same from one phrase to the next. Like if we look back here, the first measure has 2/8, and then the next measure has a tied eighth to a quarter, and then a quarter. So maybe I can change up how I treat these rhythmically. And now I'm doing the second one longer, so what if I do the first one longer? It's kind of an interesting effect. So what I want you to notice here, process-wise, is that I'm asking myself what-if questions, because I've gotten stuck. It's a relatively limiting activity. It's a relatively limiting device. So every time I get stuck, I try to ask myself some questions. Okay, what if the rhythm's different? What if I play a little bit longer? Let me try like really long. What if instead of one measure phrases, I do two measure phrases, organized in this way? Kind of cool. Let's do another one. All right, and now let's try those intervals. So I've been using the same two notes each time, but now I'm going to do it more like Hank Mobley. I'm going to go up a certain interval and then down a certain interval. So that's kind of cool. So I went up a 6 and then down a 6. I don't know that it's as obvious that these are symmetrical phrases. Anyway, you could hear and see that I'm experimenting. I'm asking myself these what-if questions. So phase 2 is now I'm going to do it over a 2-5-1. I'll change keys. I'll go to a 2-5-1 in G just for... And I always get somebody asking me, what are these voicings you're playing in the left hand? The answer is they're bass shells. You can read about them in Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2 or in Playing Solo Jazz Piano. Excuse me. Okay, so I'm always just trying to notice what worked, what was a little bit awkward. And those were two measure phrases. Let me shorten it back down. Now I've gotten used to the two measure phrases. Let me shorten it back down to one measure phrases. So that's a little bit more obvious. You can hear the symmetry of those phrases. Now it definitely gets harder, and I'm having to kind of adjust for the chords as I go. For most students, I wouldn't recommend that you do this while playing the chords in the left hand. I would recommend you use a backing track like iReal Pro to focus on this. Okay, so then phase 3 is actually applying this to tunes. And I'm definitely a fan of overdoing it when you're practicing something. When you're practicing something, you really want to be practicing it. So I'm going to try to do this all the time. So I'm going to take the A train. Again, I'm going to play left hand, but I would recommend that you use a backing track. And let's try to make symmetrical phrases. I'm going to start with a lot of 1-bar phrases. Maybe I'll move to 2-bar phrases if it starts sounding like way too repetitive. Two-bar phrase. So you heard a mixture of phrasing and strategies in there, right? But every single thing that I played was related to this concept of symmetrical phrasing. I feel like when I ask students to do this, they maybe play something that they can kind of hear as symmetrical phrasing, and then they do something else. When I'm practicing, I'm trying to do everything as symmetrical phrasing. Once I do that, maybe I'll put on a timer for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and just do that over and over and over and over, so that it starts lodging itself as a habit in my brain. After I do something like that, then maybe I'll go and I'll play it and I'll try to just insert it more tastefully. So I'll play not symmetrical. Now I'm gonna do symmetrical. Listen. Hear that one? Do, ba, going to do, do. Right, so these are the secret things that they're not having to do with scales or arpeggios changing notes, but they're going to make your solo sound intentional and organized. So they're really important, and they're way more fun than drilling scales because you're actually thinking about making music. If you found that this was a good level for you, you easily understood everything, you could see yourself doing those sorts of exercises, Jazz Piano Fundamentals Book 2 might be a really good book for you. It has a lot of these kinds of improvisation exercises that are going to get you really specifically training to improvise more musically within a chord structure. Hope you enjoyed that. If you did, why don't you name somebody famous with the name Kelly, because we're celebrating Wynton Kelly, in the comments. Thank you for watching, everybody.